Ladies and gentlemen, it is Sound On, Sound On. And it is always good to talk Five-Town Sound, and especially our women's basketball team. And listen, we had them on right before the end of the year, ladies and gentlemen, and we talked about the goals for 2022. And they did what they said they were going to do, winning their last 4 games here, winning the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. It was all about progress. It was all about staying onto the plan, staying part of the course. The girls did that and some. They're going to the USCAA tournament, and he's got the shirt already. I'm sure he's still doused with champagne. I'm sure he's still doused with all that celebration, all that joy and confetti, and we're really excited to have him on. He's always been a friend, always been a supporter, and without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the number 1 global sports show, the head coach for our Five-Town Sound women's basketball team, our Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference champions, Anthony Alfaro.
Thank you, Tom.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a ride for sure. This is most definitely have been a roller coaster. No question.
A roller coaster, Coach. I watched the end of that game, and literally I'm thinking, how is this guy going to get through that game? And what a wild journey it was, to say the least. It was almost a tale, I think, of each quarter. I mean, every quarter had such ebbs and flows, but they always say it's very hard to beat a team 3 times, and you guys did do that, so congratulations on that. And we'll get a lot into winning the championship, what it means to the school and the program, but set the tables for us on how we got there, because, Coach, that was just a crazy, crazy win. But set the tables for those who are watching and listening to this here about how our girls pulled it off.
Well, you remember we spoke in December, you and I.
Right before Christmas. That was my early Christmas gift.
We had a nice little run at the beginning, and I talked about being upset that we were going to be 2 weeks away because they were giving us 2 weeks off.
It turned into 4.
Yeah. No. Turned into 47 days.
Right, 4 weeks after that was my point. That was exactly my point.
Yeah, right, exactly. It was 47 days. I can't even fathom that. So, when we come back after that break, the first thing I told the women is that, we're basically, I don't want to say starting over, because I think that's negative. But we are now starting season 2. And the only way we can get through this is if you commit every day. So here's your chance to jump off now. If it's going to be too much for you, and I understand, because it's been a crazy mental ride, said if it's too much, right now you could jump off, nobody be upset. Obviously, nobody jumped off. And they went to work. This is all, Thomas, this is all them. I've said this to them plenty of times. This is all them. They worked really hard. They bought into all the things we wanted to do, whether we did them good or bad. They bought into them. And even if they didn't like them, they made mention to it, but they still did it. And all the congrats, I bow down to my 10 women because it was all them, Coach. Not the coach. It was all them, Tom.
Well, I know what you meant, Coach. I definitely know what you meant. And we'll get into the game, because I have a lot to say on the game, especially some of the officiating in the crowd itself. But, I mean, we've talked with a number of different schools here in the same period that we've had you on, and their break was probably somewhere between 20 and 30 days. You guys have 6.5 weeks. I mean, you talk about everybody staying the course and such, but I mean, how difficult was that? Because in some ways, Coach, I think mentally it was more difficult than when we spoke during COVID and how you guys didn't have a season. You had the few practices, you guys were together, but it was very limited. In this case, you start a season, you get into a flow, and then all of a sudden you're gone for 6.5 weeks. I mean, we only played 16 games this year. We were expecting you guys to play about 24, 25 games, and you lost all that time. I mean, was it more tough mentally maybe this year than the year prior?
I think it brought us back. It brought us back to the COVID year. I think the mental part, Tom, is understated by many people. They make mention to it, and it's very, it's something that's very fashionable for everybody to talk about the mental side. But I don't think many people really truly understand the mental side.
Right.
And
Right.
the high character young women that are on this roster, that's the reason why we were able to stay the course and at least complete our first part of our journey. So mentally, yes, Tom, you hit it right on the head. 100% mentally was a vicious cycle for sure.
I think it was even more difficult than the year prior because realistically, we didn't really expect a season. There was a few teams that played, sure, but realistically, we didn't expect a season. And I also do want to shout out some of our coaches that are watching this, including Christy Herring, of course, coach of the women's volleyball team. They were in the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Championship game. Cannot thank enough coach for her support. Also, Jason Festina, of course, head coach of the men's soccer team, and they have certainly set the gold standard, to say the least. And I saw Coach during the game. I mean, Coach was right with everybody that was right there. I mean, Coach was he was giving it his all as well, almost as if he was back on the field out there. But shout outs to all of them. I mean, but again, let's talk obviously about the game here in a sense. And that was a wild game. It was almost, Coach, not even a tale of two halves, but a tale of four quarters, because the first quarter up until the end of the quarter, you guys struggled. You missed a lot of shots. Then the second quarter, you played as good a quarter I watched all year from you guys. Then the third quarter, you kind of tailed off. And then that fourth quarter just kind of sped off into like the OK Corral and the Wild Wild West. I mean, talk about literally the tale of four quarters that we saw in the game.
Yeah, we talk about being in the moment. I think that the mental side of being in the moment is not something that everybody can do. And so you're talking about the first quarter. Some nerves, but I think they ran the offense well. They just missed a ton of shots, which the game of basketball and any sport is about math. If you shoot 40%, you're going to miss 6 out of 10. So we were missing all our shots at the beginning. And I told them that. I said, listen, it was not for a lack of running the offense. It may have been a little bit slow for my liking because we like to be about 20 shots a quarter. I said, but we missed a lot of shots. So quarter two, we're going to be fine. We're going to make our shots and we're going to get right back and be where we need to be. It's almost to the T is what happened, right? We get back in and we go to work and we start making our shots and the defense starts picking up and the crowd. I mean, I can't thank the people that came to support us. Coach Herring and her husband and Coach Facina bringing his whole crew, and they were like electrifying everybody. They got
God, the crowd between the men's basketball team, give them credit because you know what? They lost a tough game the day before, and a lot of those players like Damani Merritt and Philippe Yagelski, they didn't have to be there. You had a lot of support from the entire program yesterday. That was a big crowd you had there, Coach.
No question about it. It was amazing, and I can't thank them enough for the support. I was, beyond belief. I normally don't look into the crowd, but my wife was there, my daughter was there, and her fiance. So, and my best friend, shout out to Lino Responti. I'll make sure he listens to you now, Tom. And
well, I got stopped on the street yesterday, actually, from somebody who said that they've heard our interviews with Five Towns. So it's everywhere, worldwide at this point. So.
Oh, very good. And so I did look into the crowd before the game for the first time during the season, but as I said to Jason yesterday, there was a point in the game that they convinced Berkeley that they weren't going to make a free throw. The crowd, convinced Berkeley that they were going to continue.
How about the chant that was going on? You can't do that. You can't. How many times did I don't think I've ever heard that before in a game, Coach.
No. It was better than Madison Square Garden Blue Seats. They had their own thing going on.
You can't blame them. Listen, the Knicks aren't playing well right now, so they'd rather watch Five Towns.
They were asking the refs, where'd you get your license from? Walmart? I mean, they had some good ones. But they convinced Berkeley that they were going to miss free throws. I mean, it was crazy. It wasn't, listen, there are crowds that are belligerent.
And no question. I've been in many of those, sure.
And I don't agree with that. But the chanting, that's part of a home crowd, And I said to Jason, I said, I have to thank you. We won by 2. So you got
You
to
better
miss
be
2
thanking
free.
Coach Facina for sure because he brought the players. I mean, almost the entire team was there yesterday from his end.
I said, you got him to miss 2 free throws. We're good. We're good. We won the game. Crazy. But yeah, amazing.
Absolutely. And I want to give shout outs, obviously, to Frankie Fuentes and Mohamed Duip Dia. And also, it was definitely done with classy. Coach, I watched the game twice, actually, Coach Facine. And I watched the game and the crowd. That was what impressed because, Coach Alfaro, I cover a lot of colleges, as you know. I cover a lot of teams, a lot of players. And sometimes you don't know what to expect. But yesterday was a fun crowd. And I think sometimes you look at it, and that might have been the difference. I know, yes, there was obviously Jordan had a moment. Essence Ray for the Kemp sisters came huge in different spots. But I really felt, especially that last 5 minutes of the game, leave aside the different runs, leave aside some of the different things that happened. That last 5 minutes to me, our crowd at Five Towns, our home crowd, won it for you guys.
No question. I agree. Runs are runs. That's the game. It's math. The game is math, has always been math, will always be math. But for sure, the crowd were the 6th man on the court. There's no
I think
question.
they were the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, and 11th, and 12th, Coach. That's how loud they were.
Oh, yeah. It was great. Great, Tom. Great. I loved it. For sure.
Let me ask you, though, because obviously we'll get into some of the game next week, and I know we're not going to quite have that same crowd. It's going to be obviously in a neutral site environment, but what do you tell the team after experiencing something like that in terms of having that crowd? Obviously, I watched post-game, and you embrace with the players, you embrace, obviously, with everybody that came onto the court, but what do you tell them when, let's say, Monday is going to be more of a neutral site environment?
Yeah, all year long, we have spoke about it's another day going to work. You get up, you do what you have to do, complete the day, look yourself in the mirror, everything's great. I did what I had to do, wake up the next day. So we spoke about this and letting them know that this is how our success is going to be measured, on how we can stay even keel. Because high character people, let's be honest, are even keel. They're even keel. And so I know that these young women are high character. So they needed to be even keel to bring out their power. We talk about their inner power all the time. And so that's what we speak about. It's coming into Monday. Tomorrow we get back to practice and we continue to the path like we spoke every day. Not going to make any practice different than any other practice. It's the same thing. You come out, you give your effort, and at the end of the day, no matter whatever happens, you did your best.
I want to ask you this question, especially, and we'll get into the officiating because I do want to get into that, especially a couple plays, different game. But we had on the coach of the John Jay College Bloodhounds women's basketball team, Linda Day, and they won a similar game that you guys won last week where they had a huge lead, and the team they played, Baruch, came all the way back, and it was kind of a wacky game, but they made some big buckets and made some big stops. And I had spoke with Coach Day, and I felt that was going to help their team in their next matchup. And ultimately it did because they played a Brooklyn College team, which was beating people by 30 and 40, and they only lost by 8 points. So it definitely carried. And I kind of feel like in this game, in a lot of ways, if you would have beat Berkeley by 20 or 25 points, yeah, it would have been a great win, no question. We expected that. But you know what? At the end of the day, to be in a game like that, with that kind of adversity, going into a different opponent, a much tougher opponent, let's be honest, a much tougher opponent in Penn State Beaver, I think it's going to help our girls because now they've dealt with that adversity. They know now in certain spots they have to play much more cautious. They have to play more as a team. They have to play with the ball. They're going to have to rely on every single big play possible. So in some way or another, Coach, I kind of felt like that game where letting Berkeley come back in it and making it a game and still winning, I think helps the girls going into this matchup. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah. If you replay the game and the last shot, the on purpose missed free throw, you look at two things that we've been talking about all year long. We've been talking about we need to box out. All 5 of us need to box out. If you look at that, Nikki boxes the girl out. She fouled her, came over the top, knocked the ball out of her hand, right? And then the girl, number 4, oh my God, The Berkeley number 4. What's her name? Oh, I'm drawing a blank.
It doesn't. We're not playing Berkeley forward,
Okay.
but I saw the play, and I obviously, to me, and I think it was the announcers. I heard them say this at the end of the game, how important that boxing out was, and that's to me where Berkeley gets the rebound off the missed free throw. They get that 3-point shot. Now, 9 times out of 10 in that spot, you may not get that rebound. It was an important play that how it all kind of unfolded, especially character moments there, because we're talking about, I think, 5 seconds left when they went to the line. They missed the first shot, so they get the rebound. I think the 3-point shot went off right around maybe 2.5 seconds. So as that unfolds, I mean, what are you thinking there in terms of that box out?
Well, the second part of the box out was even better. Essence Rayford boxes out the big.
Oh, no question about it. Listen,
that girl could have easily tapped that ball back in. I don't know if
we're talking. That's what I thought. Listen, Coach. First of all, they got a great look on the 3 from the corner.
Yes.
Second look was there was a clear disadvantage in size from our end, and the fact that Essence made that play. I mean, that single-handedly was the difference in the game.
Yes, that could have easily been a tip back in. And we're in overtime, right? And who knows what could happen from there.
I would not have felt good going into overtime. I will not lie to you. I would not have felt good, especially how we would have got there.
Yeah. So, the medal, of the girls in those moments, we talk about that as well. That is what makes you. Not the fact that you scored 20 or you had 3 steals or 6 steals. It's those moments that are not really in the stat sheet. That makes the team.
No question.
So there's no question that was a good moment for us to see that we were in another tight spot, another tight game, and we were able to, persevere. Like after the Yeshiva game, when we've, basically.
We spoke, I believe, right after that game. We spoke about that, and I think the thing we took away from that game was free throw shooting. I think we improved a little bit on our free throws because we did make some shots, because certainly Berkeley put us on the line there those last, I want to say, about 2 or so minutes. So we were able to at least make a couple of them. We would have liked to have made a little more. Certainly we're going to have to make more of them against Penn State Beaver. But the fact that we were put on the line, at least we were able to make a few of them. I think certainly that was the thing we took away from that game against Yeshiva. We lost because of our free throw shooting. I think we played a little bit better here in that spot.
Yes. Yeah, correct. So, all the little things, and everybody talks about them, Tom. Every coach, I'm sure you interview, says little things. Yeah, it's great that you recognize little things, but how do you get your team to understand the importance of the little things that nobody gives you this for? When there's no pat on the back, how are you in that moment? And for sure, it's going to help us. I agree, Tom.
Absolutely, and we have a very, very good feeling that is going to help us. And of course, if you like what you hear from the 5 Town Sound Athletics program, please give them a follow on Instagram at 5 Town Sound. Also, Twitter. Also, please at 5 Town Sound. 5 Towns _sound on Instagram, Twitter as well. And of course, the 5 Town Sound women's basketball team. Please follow as well on Instagram at FTC Women's Basketball. It'll be sound on, as our girls are going to be in the USCAA tournament. They have made it. They are going to be the 9th seed. They'll be playing Penn State Beaver. That'll be next Monday at this time, basically 7 p.m. So really, really excited about that. We're going to talk about some of those keys here coming to Monday's game here with our head coach of our 5 Town Sound women's basketball team. That is Anthony Alfaro, our dear friend, Mr. Coach Alfaro. Of course, Coach Alfaro, again, surprised he even has a voice at this point. I'm surprised, Coach. You have a voice at this point. Obviously, I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And, Coach, I want to talk about some of the officiating because there was a jump ball that they called on Jordan Tobin. I think it was about 20 seconds left, and I don't even know who touched Jordan. That was the first play. Then the second, Berkeley scores to tie the game, and they call it a traveling. And I'm saying to myself, and I know it's hard to get on the refs because everybody will say the same thing, and I've interviewed tons of coaches, as you know, and this comes up, but let's go with the Jordan Tobin jump ball that they call, quote unquote. I mean, what did you see there? Because I don't even know if anybody touched it. I'm listening to the guys on the call yesterday talk about it, and I'm still trying to wrap around. I mean, I cover all different types of games. I probably watched your girls and the men's team included about 100 college basketball games at this level. And I don't think I've seen a jump ball as bizarre as that one. I mean, talk to me about what's going on in your mind there, because you're giving them the ball back and they're down 2 with 20 seconds left. I mean, talk to me about that.
Yeah. Well, the first part of that was Jordan getting the brain fart because she should have passed
I think
it.
she was expecting to get fouled there. It looked like, because she stood there for about 3 seconds.
Except you don't go into a fetal position. You move the ball so they swing and hit your hands, because the ref's going to call it because they know you're fouling. So second they stick your hand in your body area, whether you touch the person or not, they're calling the foul. She went like this, exposed the ball, and bent over. So that was problem one, right? Second problem was, I believed when the person that they said, touched the ball with her, I saw that person hit her arm and not the ball. So I'm thinking they're calling a foul. Now there's no foul called. And Jordan, we haven't talked about it with her yet, but I think she may have thought she was fouled.
I'd be honest, I'm watching on the stream, obviously, yesterday afternoon, and I rewatched it before we came on here to kind of get more of a clearer judgment on it. And I think Jordan was expecting the foul, because if you looked at her facial expressions, I don't know if you've watched the game on tape yet, but looking at her expression, it looked as if she was fouled. I mean, I don't know what went on in that sense, because it was a weird spot in terms of where it all happened with positioning, but just bizarre that they called the jump ball, because I don't remember still seeing whether it was, I think, Kinga, number 13 on Berkeley's team, or number 14, or near it all to make the touch. That's why, Coach, I wanted to get your thoughts, because you're in that spot. You guys are only up 2. So if you're up 4 or 5, it's one thing, but you guys are only up 2 in that spot.
Yeah,
they get the ball back. That's why I'm asking, because you must have been really, really upset with the officiating there.
I was, but I chose at that moment because that's not a call that they were going to overturn. You can't, they're not going to.
Well, nothing at this level gets overturned, let's be honest. Nothing gets overturned at this level.
Right. Well, I tell you the truth, Tom, when I get a good crew, I ask them nicely with nobody listening, could you ask for help?
All right, well, let's hope that we have good officiating next Monday. That's what.
No, they hate New Yorkers. They hate New Yorkers. We're in trouble. We're in trouble with the officiating. We'll play well, move on, but it's not going to be good to the officiating.
You are live. I mean, let's certainly hope. Let's dial that down a bit. Let's hope that we have good officiating. But the point is, on that play to get to next Monday, just very bizarre. And again, if I'm in your shoes, you guys are only up 2 in that spot. Berkeley gets the ball. Berkeley could even win it there. And we know, listen, you guys did it. And speaking of number 4, we're talking about Celia Highland. I mean, what a game she had. First half, you guys did a phenomenal job controlling her. And then that second half, I mean, it just seemed like Berkeley just gave her the ball. And my first inclination is, oh boy, she's going to get the ball, because Berkeley's going to throw it to her, because she was literally their only offense yesterday. And God forbid, that's why I'm like, what are you thinking in that position? What are you thinking there? Because, I mean, again, just a very, very bizarre call. Even the way you explain it, it's still bizarre to me.
Yeah, no, it was. But that happens. I think the traveling call, which I didn't think the girl traveled, she
was a makeup call, right?
Correct. Because I don't yell at the officials, Tom. That's not who I am. I don't believe in that. I believe we're all human. We all make mistakes. And even if you're having a bad day there, if I can win one call back, we're okay, So I try to stay away from that.
So you felt that going into that was the makeup call, because even the announcers on the call, they were like, I don't know if that was a travel. I mean, and I'm watching it, and they show the replay on it, and I'm trying to, because again, at the college game, you see a lot of travels calls, I'm sure you're aware of. But in that particular case, Coach, and I played basketball, I know what a travel looks like. I don't even think it was a travel.
Yeah, that was the makeup call for the bad foul call they called on us. We had just gotten fouled, and they didn't call it. And now we go back in the other end, and it was almost mirrored what we did, what they did to us, we did to them, and they called a foul. And as the refs coming by, I'm like, why would you call that now? That's what I said to him, really nice. Not loud. Nobody else heard. It was me and him only, And I said, why would you call that now? Because he had just got finished telling me that, they're going to make a lot more calls than usual, but their design is to make sure the game is in a flow, because that's really what a referee's supposed to do.
Well, speaking of flows, I mean, Coach, it felt like, and again, and I almost have to ask you this because the last, I want to say again, not even 5-11, but the last like 4 minutes of that game, I think literally took half an hour. I mean, it was so the flow, there was a flow before that, but the game just all of a sudden came to a screaming halt. And a couple of those reasons why, and again, going back to the officiating, I think Essence got called for a foul when I think it was maybe about, I want to say less than a minute left. It was definitely within like the 30 or 40-second range. And I think everybody there looked at it like, did Essence even touch her? And I mean, some of your players, I think Essence had 2 fouls there within the last 2 minutes, especially. I mean, did you want to foul in those instances? I mean, you guys still had, I think a 6-point lead, and it was, I think, 4 points. So walk me through that when all of a sudden your players start foul. Because usually I think what you intended to do about the 131 mark was to just hold the ball. And then all of a sudden, was it Sidney Mountain, I think, that put a shot up, or was somebody on one of your players, and they put up a shot when clearly they could have held the ball?
Jordan Tobin, Jordan.
Okay, I don't remember if it was Jordan or not, but there was an open layup with about 10 seconds or so left on the shot clock, maybe even about 15. And you first inclination was hold the ball. So walk me through some of that where you guys could have held the ball a little bit. And then there was some fouls that on your end, you didn't need to because you guys still had the 2-possession lead. Walk me through that. And what'd you say to the team?
Yeah, there was no discussion of fouling them. You know, that wasn't, we wanted us to play.
So was that a heat of the moment thing with the girls, maybe going back to what you said a little while ago, maybe the nerves?
Yeah. We were denying the first pass, so they couldn't get into their flow. You know, they like to run a little over-the-top movement.
Yep.
And so we said, if we deny the first pass, they're going to have to look elsewhere. And they're a team that takes a while to get into their flow. So we knew we'd be able to let them run the clock down on their own by just denying that first pass. So that was kind of thing. So no, the fouling, I just thought that the refs got tight all of a sudden, you know. I don't know if their supervisor walked in and they knew they had to make some calls.
So let me ask you this question, and we'll get into obviously the season, the winning streak, but just to put a bow on the game here very quickly. After the game, and I'm sure you've all met with the team and maybe even had a practice since. I mean, don't tell me exactly what you said, but did you at least speak to the girls about maybe, anything possible? But don't give me a strategy, but at least tell me on maybe walking back some of those nerves, because I did feel like I want to say from maybe halfway through the third quarter to the end of the game, it felt like you guys played a little tight, as if it was almost you were never in that spot before.
Yeah, we were up by 13. We were up by 14.
You had 16-point lead twice in that game.
Yeah. We were up by 14. We just gave them a basket. The girl made a tough shot. Up by 14, right. And I'm calling a play out for them.
39-25, yep.
Yeah. And I wanted them to extend the defense up high and take advantage of our height and work the ball down. And we forced the pass in. It was a turnover. They went down, sliced us up, layup. Came back again. I know the play's going to work. It's worked all day long. We call the same play. Same thing again. They should have looked into the post, looked into the wing, back into the post. It was, again, like they didn't know what to do. You hit it right on the head. And, and that was it. That girl sliced us up 3 times. Full court, all the way down, no passing. And
Celia Highland, all of a sudden, it was funny because watching the game in the first half, you did such a phenomenal job controlling her. And then all of a sudden, Berkeley said, you know what? The only way we're getting back in this game is we just let her have the ball. This was number 4, who we referenced a little while ago. And I think she wound up having like 20 points. And she got a shot. She had to work for it. But they just said, you know what? The only way we're getting back in this game is to get her the ball. And that was pretty much what they did from the point. It was 37-21. The rest of the game, obviously, you do the math, 35-21 in Berkeley's advantage. But I just felt, for whatever reason, we had that dominant run where we played maybe as good a 17 or 18-minute stretch we had played the whole year. And then I think we just got tight. But I think those are things I'm assuming during the week we'll adjust upon. But one of the reasons why we also wound up winning the game, and listen, Essence and Jordan had great games. We'll get into them again as always. We always speak about them. But I really felt like the Kemp sisters were exactly those players that won it, where maybe the stat sheet doesn't show they had the most points, the most rebounds, but I thought about the big plays they made on the defensive end. They hit some big buckets for you. They were all over the place, and I saw certainly how you embraced it, especially Nikki Kemp. You got to talk to me about the Kemp sisters and just how big of a role that they played here.
The Kemp sisters are a very steady two, meaning they are never too high, sometimes a little bit low on themselves, not the team. And so we've been working on that. Abby was upset in the first half. She missed a shot. And I said to her, Abby, you are your own worst enemy. Forget the shot you missed. Have the amnesia. She hit a big shot for us in that run that continued us on that run. I don't know exactly where it was in the run, but that shot sparked us, made it big. Nikki Kemp shot.
Yeah, I think it was 20. I want to say in the second half, it might have been 20. They got to 29-21, and then you guys went on the 8-0 run, and they spurred that 8-0 run.
Yeah. And Nikki Kemp all year long is probably our highest percentage shooter. But she chooses not to shoot at times, thinking
we talked about this a couple months ago. We talked about it then.
Yeah. And so I explained to her, you have to be the person that we have spoke about. You and I, me and her. You have to become that person. Do not worry about somebody thinking that you're hogging the ball. This game of basketball is about shooting the ball. It's defense and shooting the ball, right? So you have to be who you are. And she came up big. No question about it.
Absolutely. And 11 points. And I felt, again, her value was much more than those 11 points. And seeing how you and her embraced after the game, I mean, certainly very, very special. And Abby also made some big rebounds for you. I think she had 5 rebounds in the game, and she had a couple of assists. I mean, one of those players that I look at and say, you know what, really, really more valuable than what the stat sheet laid out. And of course, as always, I got to give a mention to 2 other players who were there in some big moments, Gabby Supton and Maria Medina. Talk to me about them, because they also made some big plays for you down the stretch.
Well, go back to Nikki Kemp for 1 second.
Absolutely.
If she doesn't get into foul trouble, it's a different game.
And she still played 31 minutes for you yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And that's because of foul. She could play 40 minutes for us. She will give what she doesn't have in the tank. I don't know where she finds it from, but
her parents were there yesterday. I think that's where she found it from, because God bless her parents flying all the way from Arizona to watch you play. So I think that's where that tank was, because
and her sister flew in as well.
Yep, we saw that. No, we definitely they were shown a few different times on the stream. So I think that's where she found that tank, Coach.
So I had to yank her when she was hot because of the fouls, because I needed her at the end of the game, and one of the coaches was, saying to me, maybe we'll leave her in. I'm like, no, I need her in at the end of the game, because she is steady when it comes to the offensive side. So she don't get in that foul trouble. She plays 38 minutes, Tom.
Right.
And maybe has 20 points because she was hot.
Yeah, no question. I mean, listen, she would have been. I mean, she was certainly your best shooter statistically. And I kind of felt also all around she was much more valuable than the points as well. And again, a few other players that made some key plays for you. Also, again, and we've talked about them, Gabby Supton and Maria Medina, because they were all over the place, especially Gabby in the end of that fourth quarter. Talk to me about them very quickly.
Gabby has been in the shadows of players when she played on her other teams. And, And we, it was very clear with her, this is not high school anymore. This is you becoming you. So I need you to attack. I need you to play defense. If you're going to foul somebody, you make sure they don't score the ball, and she stepped up big. Had a lot of big moments. Maria was a little nervous, believe it or not, Tom. Maria came to me after the game and told me that she was a little nervous in a couple of spots there, which is not like her. She plays.
No, and we spoke with her. I mean, Maria's usually in these spots, and we've had her on in the past, and we've watched her. She's usually kind of like a cool hand Luke almost.
Yeah. We don't get where we are without Maria. No, I don't think anybody doesn't understand the value that she brings to us.
She gets big rebounds for you. She's over the court. She's a good defender. Again, another one of those players that if you don't win a championship without those players. It's not just about 20 plus points a game and 13 rebounds. It's those players like Maria Medina who come through in those spots and have to have those tough assignments, have to be in certain spots with the ball. Those are the kind of players that win these games for us.
100%. 100%. You and I are in agreement with that. And, everybody had something to give in the right moment. If you go through the game and look, everybody, Neftali locked up Sierra.
Sydney Mountain was there in some spots for you. We just talked about a little while ago, Sydney Mountain. Again, God bless Sydney Mountain. I mean, she had the knee brace on and everything, and she was out there. She was a trucker out there yesterday.
On the floor, Sydney is involved. And if she's not making a play, she's putting somebody that's out of position back into position. No.
Listen, a coach told me once famously, you better be diving for loose balls at the end of the game. You better be putting your body on the line. And she did that and some for you guys.
Yeah. We were going a little offense, defense at the end of the game. And, the spots that she was in, was steady, no question. She will always be, that player on the court and watch what she's going to look like going forward. Tom.
Absolutely. Tell me your thoughts on this, because obviously I've spoken with a number of different coaches, and I want to get your perspective, especially with everything going on. And I think the big advantage that our team had in coming away with this win, and also the winning streak and having the season we had, is that we did play a team that was deep. I speak with some other schools, and frankly, with all due respect, they had 6 and 7 players. I mean, famously, York played John Jay, and they wound up having 3 players toward the end of the game because they only suited up 6, and 3 of them got fouled out. So, I mean, how big is it for this team that you have such depth where, you can play again, 9, 10 players? I mean, talk to me in these games how valuable you think that was, and just the advantage that you might have had. Again, other schools have different circumstances, obviously Omicron and viruses and testing, but the fact that we played a team, we as a team played 9 deep. Talk to me about that.
Tom, this is the key. You talk to any female and even male college programs, ask them how many players they lost from the COVID year.
Oh, you don't have to ask me, Coach. We know many of them. I can tell you,
there is not a team that I know of that lost nobody except for us. That is a direct effect of the women's high character on this roster. They stayed and believed that we had something special. I told them, I'm never going to tell you we're going to win the chip. I never say those words. I never. But what I will tell you is, if you come in every day and believe, we will be in every game we play. And that is what happened, Tom. You hit it right on the head. We were a year and nobody left, and we added Sydney Mountain. And even though she was,
I think Sydney Mountain's good, and I think Sydney Mountain's going to be a bigger piece for this team going forward, because I think Sydney Mountain being healthy, and I think what she's going to bring to the table, I think is going to make this team even more deeper. I think that's how scary this team is going to be in the future.
Yeah, no question. And the point of the roster being so deep is all because of their character. It's all because of their character. There's Tom. Coaches could say, make up all these things. Oh, he scored. The character of these young women is what has put us in the position we are today to be in the Nationals.
No question about it. And again, we are very, very excited about that. Of course, is the sound the women's basketball team winning the school's first ever conference championship, first ever appearance here in the USCAA Nationals. And they'll be playing next Monday in Virginia, 7 o'clock against Penn State Beaver. The Beavers win 19 games this season. It'll be a very, very interesting matchup. We'll get into that in a little while. And of course, if you like what you hear from the women's basketball team, please do give them a follow at FTC Women's Basketball. Also follow Coach Alfaro on Twitter at Coach Alfaro. Also want to make sure everybody follows the program again at FTC. That's 5 Towns Sound. That's 5 Towns _sound for all the great things that the program is doing here. And speaking of some things here going on, we also know that Jordan won the MVP of the tournament. Again, Jordan, to me, I mean, just another double-double. I mean, Essence scored the most points, but To me, Jordan was the MVP because I felt that, leave aside the whole play with the jump ball and the sort of whatever happened there with the officiating, but I really felt like when I watched Jordan, how she communicated with her teammates, and we've had her on, that we've spoken with her. She's, to me, established that going forward, I know we've got Essence here right now, and we'll see what happens after the season, but this is going to be Jordan Tobin's team going forward. She is the leader of this team. I saw how she was communicating with her teammates, her facial expressions. They say, Coach, in life, you can always tell somebody by their facial expressions. And watching that game yesterday, for me, Jordan Tobin was the MVP for the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference tournament, and for you guys.
Yeah. She had a revelation. She says it's not a revelation. I call it a revelation. In the first half of the year, she wasn't this player. And she was bucking the system a little bit. And I grabbed her one day after practice. We're walking out in the hallway. I put my arm around her shoulder and I said, Tobin, I sometimes don't know why you act the way you do. I wanted to respond, and I said, hold up. This is food for thought. I don't think you realize. You think your value to the team is you shooting the ball, shooting a three. It's not your value. Your value is who you are and the effort you bring, because you make everybody play harder, play smarter, and play more relaxed, because they know that you're going to be the next one diving on the ball after they do. So you decide. Going forward, I can't make you that person. There's only one person in the world can make you that person, and that's you. So going forward, it's up to you. And I guess, something clicked inside. And boy, in the month of February, this young woman was that person.
Oh, she turned it on. I mean, listen, we knew the stats were there, but I really felt like it went beyond her points and rebounds. I know she had like 12 rebounds and 10 points and all stuff, but I just felt like she became the leader of this team. She almost, again, and I said this when she came on the show back 2 months ago, right around the time with the break. She reminds me so much of Katie Healy or John Jay. She's going to wind up meaning to this program very much what to Katie Healy meant for John Jay in terms of her play on the court, the soccer field, and I think Jordan, in a lot of ways, I think is going to be that player. She's going to wind up being the flagship player for Five Towns College. And we have some great players across the program, but I think at the end of the day, I'm watching her. And what's great about it, we've got her here for at least 3 more years. I mean, this is really, really exciting. Again, these are reasons why I'm really, really excited about the program. And again, talk to me then about, obviously, when everybody comes on the court. And I almost got to ask you, Coach, I mean, have you been involved in something like that where you guys win, everybody storms the court? I mean, it was almost like watching one of those games on ESPN. I was almost saying, shoot, maybe I should have drove to Dix Hills and ran out the court with you guys. I mean, I couldn't have did that because I have to be impartial, but the point is that, I mean, it was really topsy-turvy there. I mean, I even saw players and people just kind of grabbing you there, Coach. I mean, have you been involved in something like that before?
It was wild, to say the least. Because of the emotional roller coaster of the game.
No question. That was a roller coaster. That was a roller coaster.
It engaged the crowd. So, you were like at the edge of your seat, And so they all felt that they were part of that part of the game right at the very end with 1.6 seconds, 1.2 seconds. That's the goal. So that's what happened. They all were. I mean, it was crazy. The support was crazy. It was crazy. It was wild. It was wild. For the amount of people that were there, I'm so grateful.
It felt more like 8,000 were there instead of maybe whatever it was. I mean, I'm sure it was about 100 or so people, but I mean, it felt a lot more than that. I think, again, credit to our program, credit to all of our players, our personnel, obviously Matt Gershio as well, our athletic director. Got to give him a huge shout out. Obviously, Coach Facina, Coach Herring, and the fact that we had so much support because you take a step back. The men's basketball team loses a tough game the day before, and obviously it's a 1 o'clock early game, and you never know who turns out. It was kind of cold. I mean, you just never know what you get. But the fact that we had such a loud crowd, I mean, they were pretty much loud from the tip. I mean, sometimes I cover these games, Coach, and it takes a while for a crowd to get into it. But I feel like you guys had it pretty much literally from the tip.
Yeah, no question. No, they were definitely in there. It was great. So in that moment, I've never experienced anything like that before. You're 100% correct. It was raw emotion. It's what that was.
Yeah, I felt that too. I felt it was organic. I don't think it was pre-contrived. I certainly think that, listen, we know that Berkeley has always been a rival. There are certain schools we don't want to lose to, Word of Life and Kings and Berkeley, but I really did feel like that it was organic. I didn't feel like it was contrived. I didn't feel like it was fake. I really felt like our team, our players, family, everybody else really wanted to see you guys win. And obviously you guys definitely did that. And so, I mean, have you taken the shirt off since you guys won? I almost have to ask you glowingly. Have you taken the shirt off since?
This is the first time I put the shirt on.
Really? Now, are you superstitious? Talk to me why.
Well, now you know. See, so I'm very superstitious, but it was. See, I'm getting speechless now to think about it. The emotion of that point.
Well, you were very emotional after the game when you were interviewed by Jacob Bieler there. I mean, even that little brief, those 2 interviews you did with him, I could see that, a lot of nerves were in that locker room, and you as well. I mean, you definitely, had your emotions poured out there.
Yeah, yeah, and it just was. It was overwhelming to know what they went through, all the obstacles that were thrown at them, not put in front of them. They were thrown at them. They're ducking bombs all year long, and they persevered. How many colleges can say that?
No, Coach, I've spoke with a lot of colleges over the past couple years, and we have Jamel Gist from York on Wednesday, and Coach Gist, his school didn't even have spectators until the CUNY tournament. It's been a roller coaster everywhere. Listen, some colleges had no spectators. Certain colleges had almost full capacity. Other places that had the long break like we did. There were other schools that I had that had the 3-week break and came back, but no fans. I mean, for players, coach, personnel, family, this was a roller coaster. This was certainly something that we didn't expect.
Yeah, no question. No question. So organic is the right word. So that, took over for me, and it wasn't about anything to do with me. I wanted them to relish in a moment. I don't want to be jumping in the middle. I want to just watch them.
Well, you weren't jumping, Coach. I have to say, I mean, between you and, let's say, Coach Derzel, I don't think if Derzel's team had won, he would have been jumping. So I certainly didn't expect you guys to be jumping. But I saw a lot of players from all the other teams. I saw Zoe Kolodny from the women's soccer team. I saw so many other people that were the volleyball team. I mean, I saw a lot of people out there. I mean, that was just from all sports. I mean, just it was everybody. I was trying to pick. Well, I know that. I think I know that person. I've interviewed that person. I mean, I think I speak to that person on Instagram. Then I see Coach Vicina. I saw Matt Gershow, obviously, at the beginning of the stream. I mean, everybody was there. Everybody wanted to get into it. I mean, so I almost have to ask you this question in a sense, and we'll get to winning the championship, what it means in a second here. But do you feel like almost in a sense that maybe you have a little more of a bond now with some of these coaches than maybe you had? Not to say that you didn't, but now you go through something like this. It's a roller coaster win. It's a roller coaster moment. A lot of emotions out there. It was a hard-fought game. It's a rival program. But they had a chance to win the women's and men's championship on our court. We denied them that. I mean, do you almost feel maybe in a sense after going through something like that, there's a little bit more of an added bond with the different coaches?
150%. I gave each coach a personal message thanking them for the support. We all have busy lives. We all have families. We all have things going on, businesses, jobs, other than this. And to have them all there and stay for the whole game.
That was not a 1-hour game. That was a game that took a long time to play.
For me, it was very moving, very moving. So, yes, there is definitely now a bond that wasn't there before, no question. Coach Drizel is going to be coaching his boys in our practice so they could play against us so that we could at least know what it's like to play a crazy tough team, right? So we've had men play against us all year long to keep the girls, knowing the pressure that they won't see that big of a disparity. But Coach Drizel texts me, if you want me to come in and coach my boys during a little bit of a scrimmage for you guys to help out, I'll do it. So it's great, Tom. Yeah, the bond has definitely been created, bigger than it was before.
Absolutely, no question about it. And again, I want to shout out again our coaches one more time. Cannot stress enough the support that they've given us here, especially Coach Facina, and obviously Christy Herring has done a phenomenal job with the women's volleyball team, and Coach Durzel. Obviously, again, love Coach Durzel. Despite his Yankee fandom, obviously huge fan of Coach Durzel. But again, I want to also shout out, most importantly, our athletic director Matt Gershio for putting on such a phenomenal job here. I mean, let's give Five Towns a round of applause here, ladies and gentlemen, because think about hosting the Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference tournament. What a job our school did in terms of hosting that tournament on the men's end and the women's end. So really want to give them all the credit in the world, and cannot thank enough Five Towns College for their support and friendship. That's why I'm very proud to be wearing my Five Towns shirt, obviously. So we're looking forward to getting our Five Towns women's basketball shirt here very soon. Whatever we have to do to make that happen, we will definitely do that. We are talking all things related here to the world of our Five Towns Sound Athletics program with our very dear friend, Coach Anthony Alfaro and the girls. What a season that they had, going 11-5, winning their last 4 games, and they were top 10 in the country for most of the year, and they're going to be the 9th seed in the USCAA tournament. They are going to be playing against Penn State Beaver. That is going to be a very exciting matchup. Always, you can please follow the FTC women's basketball team on Instagram at FTC Women's Basketball. Also, please follow the Five Towns Sound Athletics program here. You can do that on 5towns_sound on Instagram. Also, like it on Facebook. Also, Coach Facina, please make sure you give him a follow on Instagram. Matt Gershio, Instagram, FTCAD, and also Anthony Alfaro. You definitely want to give a follow as well for on Instagram and Twitter. You can do Twitter at Coach Alfaro, Instagram, FTC Women's Basketball, and I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And if you like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio, please give us a follow here. You can do that on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. Also, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great shows on sportnarium.com/player. And we'll be back here Wednesday night with the associate head coach for those York Cardinals. That is, of course, the legendary Brooklyn College Bulldog, Jamel Gist. And, of course, Coach Gist was a great player. He's become even a better coach. And in fact, he was a head coach the last 11 games for the York Cardinals, and the York Cardinals had their best season in almost a decade. They get to the HVIAC semifinals for the first time since 2015. Coach Gist has always been a friend. I'm always looking forward to speaking with Coach Gist. The York team had some great players that I enjoyed watching. Unfortunately, for some of the teams I root for, York kicked our butts this year, but obviously we'll certainly get into that, obviously, with Coach Gist. We always love Coach Gist and his family, of course, his brothers as well. They're huge parts of the SJC Brooklyn program, so I cannot thank enough Coach Gist. You can follow Coach Gist on Instagram anytime at JGist15. Also, you can follow the York Cardinals program anytime. Also, that's York Cardinals _ basketball. Please make sure to follow them. We'll be on right around the same time we were tonight with Coach Anthony Alfaro, and we are talking all things related to our Five Towns Sound women's basketball program. So, Coach, you win the championship. I mean, what does it mean to you personally, though, to now be the second team here in the past handful of months to win that Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference championship and to have that opportunity to play in the Nationals?
The ride of my coaching tenure here at Five Towns, it's definitely been a ride. And to see the accumulation of what we believe was going to be the right way to do this, get to this point now and put us in a position to be in the Nationals. Sometimes, Tom, it's very tough to put words together to describe it because we're still in the moment,
Right. It's still fresh. It's not even 48 hours. Yep.
Yeah. So, maybe after we get back from the Nationals or whatever happens, then we talk about that. It'll be a little different. Right now, I can't even put in the words because I have to stay focused for them. We talk about that. We're a group of people that require focus for us to bring our effort. So I'm glad we were able to do that for the college. I'm glad that the young women got to celebrate, but back to business tomorrow, practice 5:00. It's right back to business. And this doesn't have nothing to do with going forward. This is here, it's over, and now we're moving forward to the next obstacle in our way.
And we're happy we're happy you guys are moving forward. We are very, very happy about the fact that you guys were moving forward. I almost have to ask this question. Tell me your thoughts on it. And going into the game, you guys were announced as an at-large bid. And obviously through most of the season, you guys were in the top 10, but you were outside the top 10. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, regardless of what happens in that game, when you guys were selected to play the play-in game, what was your expectation? Did you have an inkling this was going to happen? I mean, I'm almost curious because sometimes we speak with teams and players and coaches. For example, we had the John Jay team after they lost to Brooklyn, and they wound up getting an ECAC bid. We didn't know if they were going to play in the postseason. They wound up playing back in 2020, and you never know, obviously. So leave aside what had happened yesterday. Before that, you guys were announced. What was your expectations on how that all was going to play out in the USCAAs?
Well, the first thing is the word play-in, right? They changed it because they had that down originally as the play-in game, but I know the structure of the tournament bracket, so they put it back to calling it the first round, and so it doesn't matter. It's a little something, but
right
to sit there that day, right, in that room, and just to have the availability to be there with the possibility of getting selected was hype enough right there. We went in there not knowing what was going to happen. And we spoke about that. And I told them, no matter what happens today, no matter what happens Sunday, I am very proud of you. I couldn't be any prouder today than I will be after you guys win. And that is the truth. So bid day, we're all in the room, they get to the 8th pick, and I'm thinking, maybe they're going to squeak as a 10th pick,
okay,
because we've had some success, even though we didn't play a lot of games.
I mean, you guys were in the top 10 for most of the season. I think that was kind of what I was thinking, is maybe that would have gave you guys a shot there.
So I said, well, maybe they'll give us the 10th spot. Maybe
right.
they could throw us a bone, right? I was not thinking they were going to give us the 9th spot.
Okay.
When they said that, if you look at the video of us in the room,
I saw it. That's why I asked, because I saw it. Trust me, Coach. We spoke off the air. I saw it.
I don't want to use the word shocked, because it wasn't shocked, but we were overwhelmed. That's really what it was. We were overwhelmed, and then we all went into it. And so it was, it was a good moment for them. Again, Tom, this is about the players. This is not about the coaches. They could, somebody says has a feel. This is not about me. This is about them. I can't do it if I didn't have them. What was that? I can get us to the Nationals. It's them. So to see them, I had tears in my eyes, Tom. To see them celebrate.
Well, it's a big deal. Listen, I mean, playing the Nationals is a big deal. I mean, listen, I think at the end of the day, to have that experience, regardless of what happens here, and again, considering everything that you guys went through, 16 games you guys only played this season. Most teams at this level play anywhere between 25 and 28 games. So the fact that we've only got to play essentially almost less than half of what those other teams played, that's a credit to the girls. And going in there, listen, you never know what can happen. And I'll give you an example. We were friends with a lot of the players from the old Brooklyn College team that made the NCAA Final Four back in 1981. And they were picked as an at-large team. They didn't know what was going to happen. And all of a sudden, I'm not saying we're going to win the USCAs, but they got in, and all of a sudden they got hot and went on a run and rode the wave. And you never know what can happen here. So at the end of the day, whether it's a play-in, the first round, you just want to make the tournament. And how big is that going to be going forward for recruiting? Now that you can say, hey, it's Coach Alfaro, 5-Town Sound, Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference champions, played in the USAs. When it comes to recruiting our girls going forward, because I know Essence is a senior, we'll see what happens, some other players, but in terms of recruiting for 22, and we'll get into more of that regardless of when this all ends and everything else. We'll have you back on right after, because we'll be watching next Monday. But talk to me on how big this is going to be for the future in terms of recruiting that next wave of sound players.
Yeah. Having success always helps, so after you get through talking to the recruits, they want to know how was your season. They just about all ask, "Hey, how'd you guys do?" Some of them are really concerned, and some of them are just generically asking the question. So obviously, when you say about the success, it's definitely going to help on the recruiting side, 100%. You must have been. What did you have me bugged earlier today? Because
You're the second coach. You're the second coach that told me that, because I had Linda Day on from John Jay twice, and Coach Day, who I've become very, very good friends with. I've known her maybe a little longer than you. She actually said to me live on the stream, said, "Tom, were you in the locker room?" And I said, "Coach, I'm not in the locker room. It's just we know how you coaches think at this point. I've been doing this for so long that you can almost think in the room." And Coach was like, "Are you sure you didn't hear my press conference? Are you sure you weren't in the room? Who did you speak to at John Jay?" And I said, "No, Coach. We haven't spoke to anybody, Coach Alfaro. That's just me knowing you and thinking about the question. Because listen, when we had you on the first time, right? Take a step back for a second. Here's why we ask a question like that. When we had you the first time, right? That was just at the beginning of COVID. So we really didn't have a background of what we can expect from this team. You just got the job. We didn't have a season. We had all that player. There was no background, right? Now you have a reputation, right? Because now you've got that 11 wins. It could be 12, 13, 14. Who knows whatever it's going to end up to be, right? So at the end of the day, you guys are going to have a championship under your belt. And I would just have to think, again, because I've spoke with a lot of coaches. We had on Coach Day, kind of similar situation that you're in right now, where she took over a John Jay team, had one win the first year, and took them to where they almost beat Brooklyn College and went to the NCAA tournament. So I see very much a lot of similarities here, where you took over a program from where it was to where it is and where it's going to continue to be. That's why I would have to think for recruiting, this is such a huge, huge chip, because when you go to players, and I'm assuming we're going to go to a lot more players maybe in our area, whether it's in Long Island, whether it's in Queens or parts of Brooklyn, or maybe even in my neck of the woods in Staten Island, that now saying, hey, we're champions. That Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Championship. And I just think with recruiting and to build the program, it's a big deal.
Very big. Very big deal. People want to be part of something that's going well. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. So no question, Tom. I agree with you 100%. And, even though it's not going to be the backbone of my recruiting, but it is a strong point. No question, Tom.
Absolutely. Does it change your philosophy a little bit? No, I mean, don't tip your hand. Don't tell me the strategies, but obviously eventually when we get back on the court and prepare for who's going to come back and who isn't, we'll have you back on certainly after the tournament, because I'll wrap up the season and everything else like that. But will it change your strategy at all?
No. Again, as we talked about, our success has always been steady, consistent effort, and so it's the mental side of it. We may add some things in, but the lane is definitely going to be at the same speed, Tom.
All right. Well, obviously, again, we're very, very excited that we're going to be going into some bigger lanes, and it's definitely sound on, and we are definitely hearing the sound here loud and proud. Got another about 20 or so minutes with Coach Alfaro. Always happy to have him on, and congratulations to him and all the success here. 11 wins in a very topsy-turvy season. It was a very, very topsy-turvy game. They beat Berkeley twice in the last week here, 3 times, and give them credit. Give the girls credit, because it's very hard to beat a team 3 times this season. Very hard to do that. Our girls did that. They are champions. They are champions on the court. They are champions off the court. We've had many of them here on the show. Jordan Tobin has been on here. The Kemp sisters have been on here. Gabrielle Supton, Maria Medina, Essence Rafe. We had pretty much almost the entire team. I think except Sydney Mountain. I think Sydney Mountain's probably next at this point. So obviously, though, all kidding aside, we shout every single one of them out. Congratulations. And we are obviously looking forward to next Monday's game. And let's talk about next Monday's game. We've got Penn State Beaver, and I almost have to ask you, have you started watching and preparing for Penn State Beaver? We've got Berkeley out of the way. We've got enough of Berkeley. I want to forget about Berkeley now till next season. Let's go over to Penn State Beavers. Obviously, a totally different team. I mean, have you started to prepare for them for next Monday?
Yeah, they're a well-seasoned team, well-coached. They're an aggressive team. They're going to come out and press us. They run their offense. So it's definitely going to be a different game. They're a different caliber team. Being from another state, it's just it's going to be a step up. Everything from here is a step up. That's pretty much what we've been saying all year long, right? So this is just a continuation of that. It's a step up now. And yeah, we started preparing, Tom. We'll be ready. We'll be ready if anybody comes to us. We'll be ready. It's just the way it's been all year long.
I'm gonna make you chuckle. I was speaking with a coach, a professional football coach, and I don't want to brag too much, but I was speaking with the coach, and the coach is sort of a friend. And I said, Coach, well, how do you prepare for the start of the season? And he goes, I get up at 4:00 in the morning, I do my run, and then I'm watching film until lunchtime. So I don't know if it's going to be that drastic where you're going to be watching Penn State Beaver film until noon, let's say during the day. But I have a very strong feeling that you're going to be watching a lot of film between now and obviously next Monday. And again, the team has a lot of depth. They don't have one particular superstar scorer, but they've got about like 5 or 6 girls that can play it, and they all play different things. The team, again, plays a little bit of different style than we've used to, but again, I have very, very full confidence in our team that we're going to be able to get the job done here and definitely do some damage. I mean, what's that going to be like then also in terms of being with the girls? Now going to nationals and being in Virginia. Obviously, we spoke with Coach Vicina a few months back after their experience. I mean, what's that experience going to be like for you in terms of traveling out to another state and playing in a tournament like this?
Yeah, you never know what is going to happen on an eventful ride, right? An 8-hour ride, right? And a lot of it is mental, and so I always believe in them thinking that this is our job. And if you think it's your job, the pressure is pulled off of you. When you get up to go to work, there's no pressure. You're just doing, and you're doing what is necessary, and you're preparing as what's necessary for the next step. So that's, it's where I'm keeping them, Tom. It's where I know it sounds, but this is where I'm keeping them. This is what we do, guys. If we do what we do, we'll be in every game we play. There's no doubt. I've been convinced from that from day one. I knew what we had. I didn't realize that this was going to come to where it came, but I knew we'd be in every game we played. And we'll be there against Penn State Beaver, too. They know they got their hands full, just like we got ours.
They definitely do. Oh, trust me, Penn State Beaver, listen, I think they're going to have our problems with some of our players because I look at the way Jordan has evolved. I look at Essence Rayford. I look at the Kemp sisters. I look at Gabby Something. Gabby Something, all this girl knows is winning. She won a lot in high school. She's won a lot in college. Maria Medina, Sydney Mountain, Natalia Dorsey. I mean, listen, you got some players. I mean, so listen, let's not sell ourselves short here. This team has a lot of players here. We're very, very excited about that. And I want to ask you this question and tell me your thoughts on it because, again, going back to John Jay, we had Linda Day on, and they have a player, Katie Healy, that won the CUNYAC in soccer, and then she's now went to the CUNYAC finals, and that team had a lot of success. And we know a number of our girls were on the soccer team this past year, and I'm always curious about it, and I got Coach Day's thoughts on it, and I'm curious on yours in terms of the fact that the girls have been in shape. I mean, you think about the shape that they've been. They've been playing probably in some form or another competitive sport since August, right? So you're looking at probably a season in ebbs and flows, 5 months, right? And we'd asked Coach Day this question, and she gave me her thoughts on it. And I'm curious if it's different or similar to hers, and the fact that these girls were in shape. They were ready. So it wasn't like when, let's say, October 15th, whatever it was, when you got them, that they were out of shape and they had to go out and figure out to be in the gym and do whatever you needed them to do. I almost think in a lot of ways this team's success is helped by the fact that the girls were in such shape. They were in different situations. Because, listen, the women's soccer team had its adversity. We know that they didn't win as much as this team has had, but they were all as a team. They've been around each other. They're used to each other. And they did win their last game of the season. And some of those players like the Camps and Jordan and everybody else were a part of that. Do you think by the fact that they've been playing so long competitively that maybe it helped them in terms of the seasons they had or also maybe the shape they're in? Tell me your thoughts on that.
So here's where I like to dial this back.
All right.
Yeah. And for me, being in shape is every coach has their own thought process of
Sure.
I felt they were in some kind of shape.
Okay.
I thought we started the year off not in great shape.
Okay.
Yeah. So the fact that they were together mentally was good,
Okay.
but I don't think we were in the best shape we were at the beginning. So I thought that was a little bit off. So, every situation is different. and
Sure.
you want to take out the good. So the fact that they had a team bond going on was, of course, helpful. There's no question about it. There's no question. But I envisioned a little bit different shape they were going to come into. Because
Okay.
we play it. Think about the pace we play at, Tom.
Right.
We're not
Yep.
walking the ball up. When we walk
No,
the ball
you guys
up,
don't walk the ball. I would definitely say, Coach, you guys play sort of a frenetic type of pace, to say the least. It's definitely you never know where you can be at anytime.
Right. And so that part of us, we were a little bit behind. I felt that we weren't able to play when we got into a little pressing situation. It took away from them, and they were tired. It could be mentally as well. And so it's a whole other different scope, Tom.
No, I was curious because with Linda felt like, because the condition, and again, I know it's different programs, but Katie Healy. I mean, I don't know if you know Katie Healy, but I mean,
know
she's
the name.
Yeah. This girl. I mean, what she did reminds me so much of Jordan Tobin. I mean, and her coach was like, well, you know what? Katie was a competitive player, and she really, she helped our team in that sense in terms of just, staying focused and being that type of person. That's why I was curious on if some of that, just like with her, carried over to the basketball court, that maybe it carried for us here. But again, every situation is different. And I was also curious, and don't tell me the strategy. Don't tell me how you're going to win this game. I know we're going to win next Monday, but tell me, is there an X factor or things that you're looking for, maybe that you took away as a positive from Sunday's game that you want to carry over to next week?
Yeah, we're going to limit the highs and the lows and keep it a little bit more, at this pace.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the days of them getting nervous are coming to an end,
Well, it better, because, I mean, it's the USCAAs. I mean, at this point, it's you're here and that's it.
Yeah. So, I think that now us being a little more steady is going to be the X factor for us.
Okay.
Because I think as I tell them, when they're doing what we do, it's almost like poetry out there. The music's playing and they're flowing. You
guys had a lot of music yesterday. I got to say, credit to whoever was the DJ at Five Towns yesterday. I mean, you guys had I think live drums. You had live music yesterday. I almost want to say, what was it, Coachella out there? What was it, Lollapalooza at Five Towns? I mean, I literally heard every single thing possible out there yesterday.
Yeah, you got to give that guy a lot of props. Tom, hold on. I got to plug in the camera 1 second.
No problem. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Alfaro is all over the place. I mean, this is definitely one for the ages here. We got a few more minutes anyway with Coach Alfaro. I mean, listen, the girls here, listen, they're all over the place. I mean, but Coach, you had some, listen, you got to give credit to the DJ, whoever was, because you literally, like I said, it was almost like a concert/game yesterday.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was definitely great. There was a lot of X factors yesterday, but, for sure, Tom, you hit it on the head. There has to be an X factor, right? So there has to be a purpose in practice these next couple of days, and I'm not the kind of guy that closes my door to practice. If Penn State Beaver rolled up on our practice, I wouldn't shut him out. Come on in. Because we still have to defend whatever we do.
True.
Whatever we do, I'm not that closed door guy. I mean, there's a lot of different theories, and I don't put anybody down for their theory. So for us, it's going to be just steadying the course.
I tell you what, and I think that that's going to be the key, because we saw how well the men's soccer team did down there. And I think you got to go in there and just don't be too nervous. Don't act as if like you've never been here before and it's too big of a stage. And sometimes it happens when a team that's for the first time has been there, and you could tell that they're wily-eyed, and you see them, they're just wide-eyed open, and it's just, you could tell that they're playing and they're just a little bit like, nervous, and they're tight. And I think that you don't want to go in there like that. And I think the way we played, especially, I want to say late first quarter to midway third quarter, that we play like that, we're going to beat Penn State Beaver. We're going to win some games here in this tournament. And I'm really, really excited about it. And again, for me, I think keys are going to be just, again, play strong. we got off to a very slow start against Berkeley yesterday. I think if we can limit that, make those open shots, because listen, if we get those open shots, this is the Nationals, it's not the Hudson Valley. If you're getting those opens, you make it. And I think also what's going to give me confidence here is our rebounding. We are a good rebounding team and one of the better rebounding teams out there around. I think our defense is good. So those are some keys for me that I think, and obviously we'll talk whenever you guys, listen, we know you're going to bring the championship. We know you guys are going to win the USCAAs. So when you win the championship, we'll obviously get the interview with you. But I did want to ask you a few more questions before we get out of here. It's always a pleasure. I know you're a very busy man. You got film, you got all this stuff going on in your mind here. And obviously it's always a tremendous honor to speak with you. But in terms of going down there, I mean, are you excited personally? I mean, what's for you going to be like, and whenever you guys leave and being in that experience? I mean, have you thought about that yet, or it just haven't thought about it yet? Talk to me.
Yeah, the prep is big. You know, you have to schedule everything out, what they wear, what they eat, what time we wake up together. We're going to eat together. This is not you do what you want and meet me at 2:00 kind of thing. That's not what I do. I don't know from that, you know. So it's going to be very structured. So right now, there's 3 of the 4 coaches are watching film, you know. So it's something. The excitement was that day at the bid show. That
Okay.
and after that, it was business as usual. I knew that just the bid wasn't enough for us. We need to prepare and be at our best so that we could perform well and go as far as we possibly can.
So it's something that when we speak, whenever this ends, that's when you'll think about it and kind of take it all in, absorb all of it. Right now, it's almost, I got a job to do. I got a task ahead of me. I've got to worry about whenever I get down there for Monday, and then I'll worry about all that then. So, I mean, look, I could certainly see this. And some coaches talk about, yeah, well, you know, just being there, it's going to be something we're going to think about 30, 40 years from now. But at this point, we still have games and such. So I think that that's important, and we'll certainly hope. We have a very good feeling you guys are going to win next Monday, and we'll certainly see when all of that plays out. We'll definitely get you back on here for sure, to say the least, when all of that. And how about your coaches? I mean, what's their mindset right now, Jason and everybody else on staff, real quick?
Yeah, I
want to give them a shout. I want to make sure I recognize them.
No, thank you. I've given I've given them all tasks, and they jumped on it. You know, so we're starting to get ourselves in a position for practice tomorrow, and you know, knowing what we got to work on, and evaluating the practice afterwards, and thinking about what we're doing for Wednesday, and then evaluating Wednesday's practice, and thinking about what we're doing for Thursday. You know, it's for right now, Tom, you hit it on the head. I can't ask the girls to be steady and give effort if we don't do it. I rule, not really rule. I run things by example. You know, I don't make any rules. Is what I meant to say. There's no rules,
right.
Principles. You know,
sure.
No rules. I don't believe in rules. I believe in principles. So if I'm telling them to be steady and give effort and do the extra, and I'm not doing it, how much you think they're going to believe me?
I'm going to give you a line, and you're going to chuckle when I tell it to you, but for whatever reason, I thought about you because I knew we were going to be speaking, and I was watching a movie overnight because I don't barely sleep at this point, and one of the things that one of the actors had said, this was actually a Stone Cold Steve Austin movie. It was an action movie. And all I'm going to say is the line that his daughter kept saying was self-preservation. So in order for us, in my opinion, to do as well as we need to do and to fight those nerves, to fight being tight, I'm going to use that same expression I heard in this movie, self-preservation. If we keep our self-preservation to where we limit those mistakes, we limit those fouls, we make sure we do our boxing out, we make sure we know where we are when we're going to get pressed. Like you said, the biggest thing that I see at this level is teams having a hard time to handle that press. So to me, self-preservation, those open shots, Essence, Jordan, the rest of the team, that's what's going to win it for us. Self-preservation. That's going to be my line. I was like, I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, I got to bring this up because for whatever reason, I'm going to say it. And if I don't say it now, I'm going to regret it. And Coach Alfaro is going to go to nationals, and I won't have a chance. When they win the national championship, I want to make sure that I get that line. And so for me, it's self-preservation. But before I get closing thoughts from it's always a tremendous honor. I know your time is very, very short here, but I wanted to say to you in terms of what do you want to say to your players, to fans, to everybody here at Five Towns specifically that has supported you, the team, the program, the athletics department, whatever else. I want to give you this opportunity now to address them, and what would you like to say?
Yeah, first, the young women. I'm so proud of them for persevering through tremendous obstacles. No matter what happens, I couldn't be any more prouder than I've ever been for any team I've ever coached. And I told them that, for our following, I mean, it was amazing yesterday. The coach.
I did not expect that. I did not expect that yesterday. I got to be honest with you. I'm not going to BS you, Coach. I've known you a while. I did not expect that yesterday. I did not expect that crowd.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll even go further, and I know I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for saying this, but I covered John Jay College in St. Joseph's, Long Island, and I got to be honest, that crowd at Five Towns blew out anything I saw all year from those programs. And I'll be completely honest, and I have no problem saying that.
I am so grateful for the following, all year long, and yesterday, and I'm humbled by it. I'm humbled by the following. I'm very grateful, Tom, that we're in this position we're in, and I'm doing everything and making sure we as a program do everything that's necessary to move forward and as far as we can starting next Monday.
Well, we're looking forward to it. I got a very, very good feeling about it. And again, if you have not followed the Five Towns Sound women's basketball team, I can assure you, you need to follow them. Please follow them on Instagram at FTC Women. There's got that championships in 2022 Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference champions. That is actually why you want to follow them. Also, Coach Alfaro on Twitter at Coach Alfaro. Also, Five Towns Sound, 5Towns_Sound. Also, please follow the men's and women's soccer teams, FTC Men's Soccer, FTC Women's Soccer. Also, women's volleyball, FTC Women's Volleyball. I want to make sure that Christy Herring gets a shout out. Also, Matt Gershio, FTC AD. I want to thank the entire program for their support, WFTU. I know you've been on the radio there a couple different times. I want to shout out them, Jacob Biller, Sean Lanigan, all those people there, because they do a phenomenal job, and they covered the games. And just Five Towns, just professional coverage that they gave of this tournament. You think about the sideline report, you think about the stream, everything that this program does, it's first class, everything that's done here at Five Town. That's why I always could not thank enough the entire program, the entire athletics department. I also want to shout out the men's basketball team. I want to shout out Damani Merritt. I want to thank also Philippe Yagelski. Would have him on next week. Obviously, Rookie of the Year there for them, for the men's team. And Coach Durza will get him back on. And obviously, I'm not going to speak too much more about the game Monday because I don't want to spoil it. I'm going to bring you on next week. And after that, I'm sure we'll speak more about it. So I want to give you the floor, Coach. It's always an honor. Anything else you want to plug, anything else you want to say? And I turn it over to you, Coach, and the floor is yours.
I appreciate that. The overwhelming support is something that up to right now has not been duplicated. And, I think that the women feel that, and I believe they're going to be able to draw from that going forward. So I want to just thank everybody once again for the amazing support they gave for us. And we're just trying to make the college proud and make ourselves proud going forward. And that's what we think about now going forward every day until we leave on that bus.
And I got a very good feeling about that. Again, this program is going to do what the women's basketball team is going to do as best they can to repeat and replicate the success that the men's soccer team has done, and certainly the women's volleyball team almost made it. We had the men's basketball team, the success that they had. So obviously, really, really looking forward to all of that. So listen, Coach, go get him out there. Congratulations on all the success here. I can't thank you enough for all of your support. I'm looking forward to Monday's game. Listen, don't do any punching on the sidelines. Don't do any of that crazy stuff. I mean, because we saw Juwan Howard last week, so we don't want you to see any Juwan Howard stuff from you. Because we want to make sure we win this game and we have you so we can speak with you. But I can't thank you enough for all of your support. Go get him out there. Congratulations on winning a championship. Let's bring it home one step at a time. And shout out to all the girls and your entire staff. And I can't thank you enough, Coach, and we'll definitely speak with you after Monday.
Thank you very much, Tom.
As we're here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show with our number one coach right now. He's one of our number one coaches around, also from the Five Towns Sound women's basketball team, our 2022 Hudson Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Conference champions. They are, of course, the first team in women's basketball history that has gone to the USCAAs. That is our very dear friend, Anthony Alfaro. As I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportzwire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, and we'll be back here Wednesday night with Jamel Gist, of course, associate head coach for our York Cardinals, the men's basketball team, who finished with their first winning season in nearly 10 years, went to the HVIAC semifinals, and had some great players like Kawan Dublin and Donald Hartley Jr. and Divine Chisholm and Moambe Caresse and Guillermo Hernandez, and I'm looking forward to speaking with Coach Gist. He was actually the head coach there the last 11 games of the season, so very, very excited about that. You can follow him on Instagram at jgist15. So we'll be back Wednesday night. If you're on sportnarium.com/player, you'll get an all-new live show from Larry Frank right now, Frankly Speaking Sports. So tune in for that, and good night, everybody. Let's go sound on, hear the sound loud and proud. Let's go, Coach Alfaro and the girls. Thank you, everybody. I'm the host of the Sports Report and the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. Good night, everybody.